the remainder, right?
Back in the day.
Right.
Have remainder of 2.
Okay, now, how many of you actually knew that there's a theorem involved with division that ties together all 4 of these pieces of information, the remainder, the dividend, the quotient, and the divisor? Did you know that? Okay, let me show it to you. It's the second box. Good, you learned something new about division. Very cool. Okay, the theorem says this, okay? The divisor multiplied by the quotient plus, oh no, we have a long way to go, remainder is equal to the dividend. Did you guys know that? Okay, let's see if that is actually true. Let's go back up here and identify a few things. What is the value of the divisor in this case, in my example? 2. So 2. What's the value of the quotient? 18. Yeah. Plus, what's the remainder? The remainder is actually 1, right? With a remainder of 1. Does that equal the dividend, which is what? Is this true? Yeah, 2 times 18, that's 36, plus 1 is equal to 37. So therefore, 37 is equal to 37. So we must have done it correctly. How many of you knew that theorem? Now, I heard somebody say it's common sense. What do you mean by that?
Like if you multiply by the answer, or the answer that you got, the dividend by the answer you got, and add the remainder in, it's obviously going to come out as what you're writing.
I'm glad that you find that obvious. That's awesome. Now, what's that? Isn't what more work? Well, this is how you learned how to do it, right? Okay, and then you went to calculators and life was good. The reason I'm telling you this now is because the way that we did this, the same thinking that we had up here, is the same thinking we're going to use when we divide polynomials. So that's what this part is. So we're going to do this. We're going to find the quotient and the remainder. We're going to find the quotient and the remainder for this particular problem right here. We're going to have x squared plus 1. Wait, I want to move this down because we're going to need some room here. X squared plus 1. Didn't really move it down that much. 3x to the third plus 4x squared plus x plus 7. Now, before we begin, there's something that's very, very important that you must do before you can do a problem like this. There are no like terms underneath here, right? Right? Yeah, okay, but here's what you have to do. You have to be sure your exponents are in standard form. Okay, this is a 1, and of course this is 0. Okay, you also have to, I mean, because it's x to the 0. X to the 0, like that. Okay. Now you also have to be sure that if you are missing any exponents, you put in a placeholder. And we'll do an example of that in a second. If you don't line it up like this, and you don't have your standard form going down and all exponents accounted for, you're going to mess up the problem big time. All right, here is how we do this. Right? We start on the outside, just like we did over here. And we ask ourselves, how many times does x squared go into 3x to the third? It goes 3x times. Who said that? Okay, how did you get that? Can you explain that to us real quick? 3x times x squared. Yep. Yeah, because 3x times x squared is 3x to the third, right? Do you see that? Now, what do I do with that? 3x times x squared, that goes here. 3x to the third. Now, what do I do about this 1? I also multiply 3x times 1. And what is 3x times 1? Now, that's 3x. Should I put that under the squared or under the x? What do you think? You should put it under here so that all your exponents line up. Now, you need to draw a big line. And please, please, pretty please, put parentheses around that and a minus sign. If you do not put parentheses, you are going to forget to distribute that minus sign, and life will be no fun for you. Okay, now, here we go. What's 3x to the third minus 3x to the third? You should always get a 0 by design. It's designed to be that way. At this point, right underneath the exponent. If you don't, you did something wrong. And I always put a 0 with a line through it to remind myself that that's what's supposed to happen there. Okay, now, what is 4x squared minus nothing? And that's still positive 4x squared, right? What is x minus 3x? Negative 2x. And then what do we do up there? We brought down the 8, right? So now we're going to bring down the plus 7. And the process continues. Is anybody lost yet? Okay, now, instead of asking ourselves, does x squared go into 3x to the third, we ask ourselves a different question. How many times does x squared go into 4x squared? What's the answer? Positive 4. Very good. Positive 4. So 4 times x squared is what? 4x squared. Very good. What's 4 times 1? Positive 4. Where do I put it? Under the 7. Very good. And we draw a line, and we draw parentheses, and we subtract. Okay, here, what's 4x squared minus 4x squared? By design. Very good. Do you see what I'm talking about by design there?
Yeah.
Cool. What's negative 2x minus nothing? Good. What's 7 minus 4? Positive 3. Now, what is the exponent you see out here? What is this exponent? 2. Notice that when we started, we had an exponent of 3, and then it went down to an exponent of 2, and then it went down to an exponent of what? 1, right? You can stop when the exponent outside here, what's this piece called again? What's that piece called again? The divisor. You are allowed to stop when the exponent on the divisor is greater than the piece you are multiplying into. So therefore, what would we call this then? Very good. You guys are catching on, and this is the remainder.
And then should we put that over?
Yes, you absolutely can. You have a couple of options at the end, okay? We can use that theorem, which is what we're going to do to check it right now. Okay, I'm going to have you check just a couple. You're not going to have to check every single one, but we need to check at least a couple to make sure we did this right. The theorem says what? The theorem says take the divisor times the quotient plus the remainder to get the dividend. So which one's the divisor again? Okay, so we're going to write that down. We're going to write down x squared plus 1. Which one is the quotient? That's the answer up top, right? That's the 3x plus 4, right? Plus the what? The remainder, negative 2x plus 3. And what should it equal? 3x to the third plus 4x squared plus x plus 7. If it does, you're in good shape. Do you guys actually think it does? All right, let's do this super quick like here. What's x squared times 3x? I'm going to use FOIL. 3x to the third. And then how about inners plus 3x, outers plus, I just got lost. First outer, whoops, FOIL, no good. First outer, yeah, plus 4x squared, right? Thank you. Plus 3x plus 4, is that right? Yep. All right, there we go. Minus 2x plus 3. Let's keep going real quick here. 3x and 4x, how much is that? I mean, what am I doing? I'm doing this. 3x minus 2x. How much is that? X. So I have 3x to the third plus 4x squared plus x. And then 4 and 3 is?
7.
Oh my gosh, is that right there? Then we did it right. All right. I'm going to give you one now where you have to find a placeholder. So here's the setup, okay? Give you a problem that says this. X squared minus x plus 1, x to the fourth minus 3x to the third plus 2x minus 5. This will be the last one, then we'll take a break, okay? Now, on the outside, what's the outside piece called again? The divisor. What's the inside piece called again? The dividend. Okay, so here we go. Notice the dividend. Take a look at the exponents form real quick. What do we have? We have 4. We have 3. We have 1 and then we have 0, correct? Which one are we missing?
2.
We're missing 2. If we're missing 2, we need to put a placeholder in before we start this process. So you need to rewrite this as this. X squared minus x plus 1. X to the 4th minus 3x to the 3rd. Now I'm missing a squared, right? So that is the placeholder, plus 0x squared plus 2x minus 5. Now, is everything lined up the way it should be? That 0x squared needs to be in there as a placeholder. Otherwise, we're going to get the problem wrong. And are you ready to start? No? Okay. Let me know. Here we go. How many times does x squared go into x to the 4th? X squared. Beautiful start, everybody. What's x squared times x squared? X to the 4th. What's x squared times negative x? Negative x cubed, right? Negative x cubed, right? You guys with me on that? Okay, what's x squared times 1? X squared. Now, if I didn't have a 0x squared, where would you put it? Nowhere, and left would be bad. So I'm going to put it right here. Plus x squared. Notice everything is lined up. Ladies and gentlemen, the neater you are with this process, the easier it will become. Notice all my exponents are lined up vertically. I highly encourage that type of structure. Okay, here we go. X to the 4th minus x to the 4th is 0 by design. Sweet. Negative 3x to the 3rd, negative plus x to the 3rd. How much is that? Negative 2x to the 3rd. Good work. 0 minus x squared is a negative x squared, and we bring down the positive 2x. Everybody feeling good? Now, notice that, do you guys notice something, right? We started with a 4th degree polynomial. Now what do we have? A 3rd. Do we keep going? How come? Because it's not lower yet, right? Okay, so we keep going. Questions? We already brought down the 2x. We only bring one down at a time, if there's a place to put it. So does x squared go into negative 2x to the 3rd? How many times? Negative 2x times. Good. So that gives me negative 2x to the 3rd. What's a negative 2 times a negative x? Negative 2x.
Is it positive?
Positive 2x. Squared, right? Did I just leave it? All right, here we go. Can I keep going? All right. Wait, where was I? Oh, yeah. Negative 2x times negative x is a positive 2x squared, and then negative 2x times 1 is how much? Negative 2x. Sweet. We draw a line, we put parentheses, we put a subtraction sign on the outside. Notice we have negative 2x to the 3rd plus 2x to the 3rd, 0 by design. We're doing something right. Okay? Negative x squared minus 2x is negative 3x squared. Yeah? And then 2x minus negative 2x is a positive 4x. And then we bring down the negative 5. Do we keep going? Yes. Why? Because it's still, this is a power of 2. So is this. So I can go negative how many times? Negative 3 times, right? Yeah. You can. And we're going to learn to do that in the next unit. Nice job. So negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times a negative x is a positive 3x, isn't it? And then a negative 3 times a positive 1 is how much? And then, of course, I draw parentheses, and I draw a big line. I put a minus sign on the outside. Here we go. Negative 3x squared plus 3x squared, 0 by design. Awesome. And you should have this beautiful sort of like, slopey thing going down to the right. Okay? 4x minus 3x, how much is that? Plus x. And then negative 5 plus 3, how much is that? Minus 2. Right. Isn't that right? Okay, now, can I go any further with that? No. So let's identify the pieces here. What do we call this piece? Divisor. What do we call this piece? Quotient. What do we call this piece? Dividend. And what do we call this piece? And how can I check to make sure I did it right? The theorem, which is right there. You're going to have to do it at least once.